It's the Greek Soccer Show, and I'm well aware, all right, I'm well aware that I don't need to do this. My friends keep telling me, what's the point? It's got nothing to do with comedy, I'll tell you that, but I do love my soccer, and I got no one to talk about it because my friends don't like soccer, especially not the Greek League. So I get to talk about this stuff every weekend to you guys now if I decide to keep doing this long term. But here's a test episode. We'll see what's happening. I mean, while I watch Manchester United completely decimate Chelsea right now live, they're up 3-0. And what a way to start the season for Man United, but definitely a terrible way to start the season for Chelsea. That's got to suck. But on to the Greek teams. It's been an important week. It was the third qualifying round of the UEFA Champions League, the most important tournament in club sports. And we got two teams that are trying to make it to the playoffs. And it kind of, I think it was a mixed bag this week of the way the Champions League teams worked out for us. So I guess we'll start with Olympiacos first. They won in Turkey against Istanbul Başakşehir, 1-0. Away goal, away win, rival team, very important. And while I'm saying this, we've had a turn of events. It's 4-0 Man United right now. This is a very, very bad day for Chelsea. So Olympiacos won away in Turkey, and it was only 1-0, but it really wasn't indicative of the style of play. I kind of feel like Olympiacos could have won by more. And even though it's their first competitive game so far, they're actually looking pretty good, which is not the same that I could say for PAOK. So PAOK played Ajax. Okay, Ajax, great fucking team. Great young players. This team is going to be one of the teams of the future. I think the next 4, maybe 5 years, we're going to be seeing a lot of Ajax late in the Champions League. Year after year. They've got a lot of young guys. Their academies have always been top-notch, and it's showing off right now. So they normally sell players. They develop a lot of young players. They keep them for a couple of years and then sell them off. Right now, I know they signed Ziyech for, I think, a couple more years. They just re-signed him to a new contract. So they're looking to build for the future, and they're trying their best to make it back to where they belong. You know, Ajax used to be at the top of Europe, so they're trying to get back there. Anyway, so they got to play PAOK. And PAOK was playing at home, the Tuba, which is a good stadium to have, and it's a difficult place to play. Now, it ended 2-2. And again, I'm going to say, not indicative of what really went down. Because here's the thing. I kind of feel like, it's crazy to say, but I feel like PAOK should have won that. The problem with them, both goals were, Pascalakis wasn't that good on both of them. It's early in the season. Defensive mistakes. The defenders were kind of sloppy, and it was 2 moments of error that normally wouldn't happen late in the season when you're prepared. They would, but this was their first real competitive match this year so far. It was against one of the big teams of Europe. Now, the fact that it ended 2-2 is still good, even though the away goal rule is favoring Ajax right now. Ajax doesn't need to do anything at home. Essentially, if they win, if they tie 0-0, if they tie 1-1, they go through automatically. So PAOK is going to need at least to either win it or get 2 goals and push that shit into extra time on a 2-2 tie. We'll see how that goes. Hard to score away, especially at Johan Cruyff Arena. Point is, I think they look good, though. I think PAOK looked strong. If you consider the scoreline. And I honestly believe that the only reason those 2 sloppy goals went in is because it's early in the season and the guys aren't as ready yet. I think they're going to have another good season, probably PAOK, this year. If they continue like this, I feel like morale's up in that team. And we'll see now what happens with Europe. If they're going to get eliminated, if they're going to pull the upset, make it to the playoffs, which I believe they still can. It's not likely to get that win away from home, but you never know. I think it's definitely possible. Moving on to the second most important, most prestigious tournament that there is out there, the Europa League. So we got a couple of teams in the Europa League this year. 3 to be exact. I'm not counting Cypriot teams, just Greek teams right now. So look, we're going to start with ARI. Happy to see them back in Europe. But goddamn, here's the thing about the leagues starting at different times and yet you play in the same continental tournaments together that I have an issue with. So they were facing a Norwegian team, Molde. Away from home, they had to go to Norway, they traveled, and they ended up getting smacked around 3-0. Again, it was kind of a 5-minute lapse in concentration that led to the score really getting out of hand. It wasn't so much indicative of the quality between two teams. Plus, they got a red card, Vélez, which doesn't help. He's not going to be able to play next game. Anyways, point that I want to make is that the Norwegian team is midway through their season. Midway. They're in fucking form. That team is ready to go. ARIS, this was their first real competitive game again. Third round qualifying for the Europa League. So they're not going to be, it doesn't matter how good your players are, you're not going to be the same fitness level, right? A mid-season team, these guys were ready. So this always happens to teams, and that's how there's upsets too. The big teams sometimes get knocked out early in the tournaments if they didn't qualify for a later round, because they'll face a smaller team that has a decent squad, and they're midway or late through the season, and then this kind of stuff happens. So even though they're going back home to play, I'd love to see it, but I cannot see them turning this one around. All Molde has to do really in Thessaloniki is just park the bus, and they could get away with it. And I feel really bad because I like seeing now that Adi's back, I like seeing them in the in the Super League, and I like seeing them in Europe. And we definitely know that Greece needs the points right now. The league needs to go higher. We need more teams to be able to qualify. So it would have been better if the scoreline was closer. We could say they screwed it up or whatnot, but definitely doesn't help when you haven't started your league officially and the other team is midway through their fucking season. That doesn't help. Anyways, moving on. Since we're sticking with Europa League, my boys, AEK Athens, they played as well, and they actually made us proud. They did well. They won away 2-0, which is the kind of scoreline you look for when you're playing your first game away. Give yourself a little bit of that cushion, so when you go home, you have the ability to maybe get scored on early and still survive. Because teams come out there and they try everything. They're facing a Craiova, and they got nothing to lose. This team, they got nothing to lose. They're looking to make it deeper into the European tournaments. So they're gonna come to Athens this week, fucking firing on all cylinders. Now, I think AEK is a team that outclasses them. It kind of showed with the goals that were scored, but AEK's not ready either. You could tell they're from the big three that's been playing in Europe right now out of Greece. Even though they're the ones that won by the biggest margin, they also look the weakest out of the biggest three. It's just a matter of gelling, just a team to get, it's a new coach, a couple of new players joined the squad, good players, but it just takes a while for everyone to gel. And again, the season hasn't officially started for them. So the league hasn't started. They haven't had time to really get it together. Now, they have teams ahead of them that can permit them to make it to the actual group stage of the Europa League. I think they could win. They're going to win this round, I believe. In the playoffs, they should be fine as well. So we should see them in the group stage. And it's important to mention that in the Europa League, AEK has been undefeated for years now. Ever since they came back to the Europa League, they haven't actually been defeated. They got eliminated 2 years ago, the year before they made it back to the Champions League, just on draws. Again, it was away goals that did it to them. So they haven't been beaten in this tournament in a couple of years. So morale is high. Just that they still need that time of play to get back into it, which at the same time is something that I could say for Atromitos. Atromitos is in Europe. They're trying their best to make it to their Europa League group stage. It's definitely not going to be easy, I'll tell you that much, because every team looks for the money. They're facing Warsaw, so they had to go away. And it was 0-0. They actually ended up getting a 0-0 draw away from home, which doesn't sound like much. I know, because they could just lose 1-0 at home and get eliminated, or even tie with any goals and get eliminated. However, here's what you have to look at the bright side. It's a team that doesn't have as much European experience. It's their first ever away tie in European competition. So there's something to take from that. And they're also a team that had a good season last year. They played well in the league. They had upsets. They were always, at the top of the table. They were always competing. They're a team that could win, I believe, against Warsaw 1-0 at home and move on to the playoffs. I would not be surprised if that happens. The only surprise that would really shock me would be if ARIS comes back and wins that tie. It's the only team that I think shocks me. I honestly believe that PAOK could even steal a victory, or even 2-2 again and head into extra time, and you never know what could happen against Ajax. Even that won't surprise me as much as ARIS turning the tables, Olympiacos should be good. They got the away goal. They're going home. They're very strong at home. And that team's looking good too, by the way. I didn't mention. But I think PAOK's going to have a good season. Once they all gel, they're going to be good. Olympiacos too. I think they're gonna be strong this year. A lot is riding on this, their hopes of a European campaign. The deeper they make it into Europe, the better it is for them, obviously. AEK has other focuses. AEK this season from the big teams, they want the league, they want to go far in Europa, but also we're in anticipation mode. We're waiting for that new stadium to be built. That stadium that's going to be so important for the entire neighborhood. Now Philadelphia, it's going to be huge. It's going to reinvent and cause a resurgence in the area. A lot more money for the people that are there. The local businesses are going to thrive because of it. It's going to look good for Greece. We're going to have one of the new 5-star stadiums in Europe. It's perfect size, in 30,000, I believe it's 32,000. So you could pack it and really make the opposing teams that come there feel the noise. It's state of the art, so that's going to be good. So we got about a year left. I believe we're going to be there next season. While we talk about it, so Olympiacos has it's a good stadium. They don't own it, but the Karaiskaki is a great stadium to play in. It's got atmosphere. Pantelis, what's sad about them is that they're coming back now, but they don't have a stadium. They don't have a home. They owe too much money. It's kind of a clusterfuck. And you need these teams. They're historic teams. You need these teams to do well so that Greek soccer can do well. PAOK at least has money, and even though they love the Tuba, they're building a new stadium, and I think it's going to be top-notch. I mean, they have the cash. The team is doing well. I believe that as far as the North goes, they're going to have a couple more successful seasons in the coming years with the current ownership of the gunslinger, Safidis, the Russian gunslinger. So those are my thoughts about what's going on there. And for their teams that are coming up, like Atromitos, ARIS, it's not really stadium talks right now. They just need to build teams and try to keep competing every year to make the league, more competitive. Even now we dropped it. I believe it's 14 teams this year. They're trying to keep the league with less teams, and they could be closer in terms of quality. But it's very hard to compete with the big 4 teams right now. And especially now, it would be, if you think about it, really 3. Like, honestly, with the budgets that we're talking about, Olympiacos, AEK, and PAOK, their budgets trump everyone else's, So you can't really hope to compete on that level. You gotta look young. You gotta do what AEK did when they made their comeback. You gotta look at the academies. You gotta get some young players in, save some money. Even now, AEK's not spending. The reason why the owner doesn't want to spend, it's obvious to everyone, even though he doesn't say it. He's waiting for the new stadium. He wants the stadium to be there, then put money to bring big players in, so they could compete in Europe. So it sucks to have seasons that you feel are kind of throwaways. They're looking most at the league, but as I say that, Manchester United just ended the game and just smacking Chelsea around first game of the season. Okay, well, that's a good way to start for the Reds. Yeah, speaking of soccer, there's some rumors that I want to talk about I think are interesting. Like Gareth Bale was supposed to go to China, and then I found out that the Chinese media actually had congratulated the team that had bought him. They paid for him, and then it was canceled at the last minute. Real Madrid canceled that at the last minute. They felt like it wasn't enough money, even though now it's awkward for the player. Because Zidane, right before the season had officially started, in a press conference, talked about how it's better if he goes. You can't, if we could sell him right now, it would be best for him. You can't say that about a player. I mean, he's very injury prone, and he people are talking shit about him because he liked golf a lot, and they feel like he's spending more time focusing on golf. But fuck, man, he's one of your star players. You can't, I don't know. I feel like you just made that locker room toxic for no reason with this guy. You shouldn't have said that. Sell him and then, talk some shit. But don't talk shit before you sold him. What if this guy stays the whole season because you're not happy with any of the offers? What's going to happen there? I don't know. I think it's fucking stupid. Anyway, standout stuff that I can talk about from this week that I saw from all the Greek teams is Olympiacos speed. Olympiacos has a good speed this season. PAOK, PAOK has a good forwards, and I think they're going to be okay. Honestly, both goals, I feel bad for them. They were both just errors in judgment, goalkeeping and defending. 1 for 1, really. If you think about it, one was the goalkeeper's error, and the other one was a defending error. But I think they're going to be okay. If they can manage to get past this hurdle, they're going to be good. I need some more time to gel and a bit more money. It would be good if they could bring in 1 or 2 big players. I still feel like offensively in the midfield, AEK is having problems. They have good wingers. They have good fucking fullbacks. They're very, very weak. Not the defensive middle, but just attacking midfield. Someone to grab the ball and bring it up. So Livaya always has to come back and try to make stuff happen. You need an actual natural attacking midfielder that's able to control the ball, maybe pull a couple of digs, you know? You need those kind of people that can control the play. And that's what they're missing. And in terms of the other teams, I mean, ARIS is still young. Pantelis is young again. Pantelis, by the way, we should mention that even though they're not playing in European competition, their friendlies against a lot of Turkish teams are actually going well. I mean, they lost to Galatasaray a couple of weeks ago in Turkey. They lost 2-1 in a friendly, but they stared them right in the eye. I mean, and Galatasaray is not a pushover team. And this Pantelis team is not the same team it used to be, right? So considering the players they have, how young they are, I mean, it's looking promising. Now, it would be better if they could get some cash, stable ownership, and a goddamn stadium. That would help all of Greek soccer. We need these teams. It doesn't matter what team you support. You know, everybody knows I support AEK, love AEK. But in order for AEK to do well, and in order for the league to be healthy, we see some good players in there, you need the other teams to be healthy. You don't need them to win all the time, but you do need them to have quality players, quality personnel. That's what helps. You need them to do well in Europe, or else people won't take us seriously anymore. So yeah, and that's it. We're gonna go short this week. It's a test episode to see if anybody gives a shit, if it's just me. And I would normally, the only reason, again, people are asking me, because I do pay attention to everything. English soccer, Italian soccer, Portuguese soccer. I was watching the Benfica game as well. I'm big on soccer. Not so much on the MLS. I know what's going on, but I'm not as interested. European soccer, international soccer, love that shit. The only reason why I'm not talking about other leagues so much is just because there's already podcasts out there talking about it. So I figured, why go to me? I've never done this before, right? I'm a goddamn comedian. But for the Greek league, I couldn't find any English podcasts that really talk about the Greek league. And a lot of times when they're doing European highlights, they skim over a lot of the smaller countries, including Greece. I mean, fuck, they even skim over Portugal if it's not Benfica. So I decided, let me do this. Let me see if anybody gives a shit. And if they do, I could bring on guests. I could make the episodes longer. So we'll see. It's a little test episode. So if you listen to this, thank you for fucking listening. And if you didn't listen to this, you're never going to know it existed. That's it.